Gandhi said that poverty is the worst form of violence, and that draws attention to the fact that it's not necessarily the fault of the poor person. It's something that can be done to you, and our economy does this to people. The economy is a prison for your mind. It controls what you think, it controls what you can have, and it's totally artificial. We invented it. If it's not serving our purposes, we can change it, we can reinvent it, we can uninvent it, we can do with it what we need. So when we're talking about involving the people who are poor in their own solutions, it's a matter of not doing things to them, but doing things with them. It's a matter of allowing them to form their own cooperatives where they are in charge of their own production, where they can produce things that they need and share them, and not be tied down with money and management and being economically abused.
Okay, my thoughts and feelings towards the mental health, which has deeply affected my housing. I come from a house, it was an old farmhouse at one time, and we growing up, didn't have much money, so we were trying to do the best we could with what we had. And I'm not saying anything bad about my parents or anything, but they did the best they could, and it has affected my mental health for approximately the last 20 years. I've dealt with the highs and the lows the best way I knew at the time. My family and some of my friends have been very supportive with me during this time. I have seen some changes over the years. Why was the day hospital torn down and made into a parking lot? When the Valley Regional Hospital was built, I thought, now maybe I can get the help I need. Where did we go in the middle of the night or after 4 p.m. because heaven forbid you have a breakdown or after 4 p.m. during the week or on the weekend? Why is it when a person of the authority can get an appointment with someone within 24 or 48 hours to 72 hours, when the actual consumer has to wait 3 to 4 weeks in order to set up an appointment, and then you're still waiting for the actual appointment date? When someone is physically and mentally depressed, time is not on their side. It is required that some resources are open for this very thing on a regular basis. When I woke from taking an overdose that has failed, the nurses asked if I was proud of what I did. Of course, we are never proud to harm ourselves. We do the best to act on all the resources that are offered to us, and all we get back from our resources is to go to the emergency. Valley Regional Hospital is not equipped to properly deal with mental health issues. Don't get me wrong, the doctors do their very best most of the time, but it is like asking for a coffee and getting plain water. Not everything is present. Mental health affects everyone, not just the depressed people. Depression has and will continue to cause people to lose their jobs, and just your everyday to-day living becomes more problematic on top of the depression as for an example, financial problems, transportation, schooling, concentrations, etc. are just a few things depression can alter in how we live. It's not fun looking on the internet to find different ways to die. I understand and know professionals think that one talks about suicide is more likely to commit than just make the attempts to kill themselves. It is obvious when one is making these attempts is not them joking around, nor it is a attention-seeking method. But when it is brought to the professionals' attention, they are never really standing in our corners with us. They have passed judgment out before they know the reasons. I am not happy with my life and probably never will be. Some say suicide is a coward's way out, but they have never been in my shoes, nor do they walk in my shoes. The last place anyone wants to be is an outpatient sitting and waiting to see a doctor, knowing you are going to be judged before it even starts with when you are suicidal. I have tried almost every medication available, day and evening therapy, ECTs, and meeting with counselors, psychiatrists, social workers, and doctors regarding this. Some say it all takes time. Time is not what the suicidal person wants to hear. When saying this, I feel there needs to be a program available 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. That's it.
I have been in low-income units for the last 22 years. I have had very bad luck with them. Not only when I had my children when they were very small, I had 15 floods. And they turned around and told me that I've lost everything. And because I did not have tenant insurance, I was left with nothing. I had to break into another unit to move my stuff in there because I had nothing. My infant son would have drowned under almost waist-deep water. He has a heart murmur. He had heart surgery. I just brought him home. They told me that it was my loss. Some of the workers, I know, like when you join into the low-income units, you are responsible for doing certain things pertaining to the yard work and this, that, and whatever. Well, my understanding is you're in a low income for a reason. You do not have the money to go out and flash around to buy ride-on lawnmowers or you know, whatever, whippersnippers or this, that, and whatever. One of the workers from low income King's Housing here came to my door and told me I had 2 days to cut my lawn. When she had come back, I had not touched the lawn because I don't have a mower. She handed me a pair of scissors and said, start cutting. She used derogatory comments, threw out nasty names. You know, I mean, I threw them back, but I also took it higher up from her. The mental state of my being and my children and my lifestyle diminished with all the derogatory comments that was thrown back with letters, them visiting at the doors, you know, this, that, whatever. The housings are not suitable. They would not be suitable for you to live in. Why should we have to live there? We are only trying to make a living. We're only trying to succeed. We can't succeed when we have, you know, 10 things to do, when we're completing them, and then we're throwing back 50. That's not fair. Our children are not able to function in that environment. We're losing our children because of the lack of environment, like the healthy environment. We can't afford to feed ourselves. How can we afford to pay our rent? $700 is kind of high for a low income. You know, we struggled. So I had a catch-22 in my ballpark, trying to figure out, do I pay my rent this month or do I buy groceries? So I had to alter it, which put me $4,000 in debt over 22 years. So, you know, that's pretty much all I have to say, but right now I'm living in a boarding situation with no money because I can't get into another apartment. I can't find nothing else because of my $4,000. Can't pay $4,000 when you have no income to pay it.
My name's Tanya Welton. I've lived in low-income housing for probably 11, 12 years. I've had a somewhat good rapport with them. The only concerns I have with them is when they come in to try to fix things. when you ask them to come in and fix something, it's on their own time. It's never when you need them to. So I guess that's my only issues that I would have with housing.
I had a friend that lived down here in the subdivision, and she was there for quite a while, and they never come in and repaired anything or did anything she asked her to do. And then here last July, she was asked to move out. She only had 15 days to move out, and she's been living with me ever since. And she has no income or anything like that. They won't help her, and they won't even help her kids. And the address is 6 Memory, just down here in New Minas. And I have another friend that lives up in Kentville, and her house is full with mold, and they're not even looking at the issue. She's got 2 little kids, and they've been hospitalized because of it. And her name is Ashley Salzman. And that's all I'm here for, is just they gotta do something about these low housing. They've gotta fix them or do something with them, and help people find something, find somewhere to live. That's
I'm here to speak on behalf of, well, myself for one thing. I am on social services. They allow you $535 a month for rent. Where are you supposed to find a place that much? Everything included. It's not easy. A lot of the landlords don't want to rent to people on social services because they charge way too much for places. And when you do find a place that's around your price range, you still got to take $30, $40 out of your personal allowance just to pay off the rent. And it's hard. It's hard for a lot of us. And if you are in low-income housing, once your kids are older, you got to move. Where are you supposed to go? Especially after living there for 15, 16, 17 years. And once your kids are out, you got nowhere to go. You're so used to living in small, low-income housing that you don't know how to actually pay rent for a higher price place. So what you're supposed to do? There's a lot of landlords out there that feel that if you're on assistance, you don't belong in their home. Their housing, nothing. They look down on you, and it's not right. I done in from the cold back in March of 2012. I done it for 3 weeks. I did find a place. It wasn't the best place. I still had to take $40 out of my personal allowance for the rent, but I lived there for a year. Now I live in Moorfield. Yes, the place I have in Moorfield is a nice place, but it's $750 a month. My oldest son lives with me to help with the rent. We each pay $395. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to stay in a place because we can't afford it. And it's not right. So what are we all supposed to do? I mean, they say they're talking about it. Talk is cheap, action speaks. So why don't people just get together and do it instead of talking about it?
Hi, I'm Tabitha. I do some volunteer work at the Evangeline Club. I do transportation. Transportation is a big issue for a lot of people around the area, and I even take people to the food bank because bus drivers get upset when someone gets on the bus with a bunch of groceries. So through the club, I try to give transportation to the food bank, and I take the person home, let them take their groceries in, and if they need to go anywhere else, then I can do that for them too. I do transportation for the housing. I drove a lot of people here last night, and I've been going nonstop all day today, driving people around and getting people here for this. I live in a housing, a low-income house. I unfortunately am separated and going through a divorce, but because my ex-husband can't afford to move out, he still has to live with me. So I have a 22-year-old son that lives with me as well, that has a hard time trying to find a job because of his disabilities. And I myself have a lot of health problems. And I just try to do everything that I can to help people get to and from wherever they need to go. Transportation's a big issue.
Hi, my name is Tasha. I live in Kentville, Nova Scotia. I relocated back here recently after fleeing a domestically violent situation. I guess I have a tendency to create or follow after old patterns, which tends to be relying on the wrong people. We've all done it. So I've relocated back to the Valley. It's been a constant struggle since I've become a parent. As a single parent, nobody wants to be a single parent. However, we don't always get what we want. In my situation, it was just like that. I ended up being walked out on when I was pregnant. It just became a series of domino effect scenarios, from housing to social assistance to food banks to no transportation to fighting tooth and nail for everything that you need that are necessities: laundry, phone, anything. In my experience with housing, which is something I'm very passionate about, it all sort of ties into a lot of things. Housing is a huge issue. People deserve to have adequate housing, especially in a country like Canada. We've worked very hard in a country to get our education and to do better and to better ourselves. And I've been one of those girls who's played by the books and played by the rules and still ended up on the bottom. It's a passion of mine to fight for women and their rights and equal rights, and I still feel that this country has a long place to go when it comes to equal opportunity for women. There's way too many complex issues that aren't being dealt with. They're being swept under the rug. Women and children, or single parents and children, are very vulnerable, or people on a fixed income. There's not enough networking and supports within the communities, in my experience, to advocate and help women, in my particular situation, with the resources that they need to do better, to reach for higher plateaus. I've been back to school. I got my education. I finished at the top of my class. I moved to a city from here to better my prospects for work. It didn't happen. Basically, what happened is I started to struggle. I bounced from place to place. Rent-wise, couldn't afford the housing in Halifax on my own. I don't get maintenance. I don't have family supports. I don't have anybody except for myself. I did what I could. I got a job. I worked full-time. I slept on people's couches so I could leave my daughter at a place where I could afford to keep her so I could work. People's lives changed. This particular babysitter had to move on with her own obligations with her own family. So I ended up relying on a man because I was vulnerable. So I leaned on a person. This person just happened to be the wrong person. Months went by before I realized that I was pretty deep into a pretty severely domestically violent situation. Long story short, I had a savings plan. I had an escape route. It didn't pan out the way I wanted it to until the police basically took me to a shelter because I was in danger that night. Everything I worked for as a single parent for 4 years was taken away from me and gone. I lived in a shelter with other women, and as I lived there and I realized where they had all come from, the story was all similar. The men that we had all dated was similar. The issues and struggles that all of us women had was similar. And it made me really mad because I realized that these things shouldn't happen in a country like Canada.
Hi, my name is Renee States. I lived in affordable housing on 3 Iona in Wolfville. About a year ago, I have a situation there that was very unpleasant, and it's not that I want to diss housing or bring them down. It's for others to know and realize what really goes on. I lived there for about a year, got along with my neighbors, filled out my application to be living in affordable housing with 2 young children, moved in beside neighbors that were elderly, and, well, I'm pretty sure you can know the rest from there. Things just went downhill. I was the one that was penalized. I was the one that got evicted. And I just want everybody to know that, if you're going to be wanting to live in affordable housings, that they should take all measurements and precautions that are out there. Because, if they would have gave me a heads up, then I could have made that choice, not to take it or take it and deal with the consequences, right? I could have said, well, no, thank you. I have 2 small kids. I don't want to be beside elderly people because, kids are noisy. You can only do so much.
Hey, sup guys? I'm Jake Keddy. I have been on the streets sometimes for a few years now. Got dropped out of school, got dicked around in school, people fuck around. But couch surfing's not the life for anyone really. You gotta have a steady home, somewhere you can kick back, put your feet up and be like, yeah, this is where I live. It's not easy, but you gotta manage. You gotta look at life differently sometimes. It's not all fun and games. I don't know, there needs to be more help for younger people, not just 21, 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds. People 17 and up, 16 and up. Because people get kicked out of their houses every day. They run away from home. Some houses just ain't stable, parents and stuff like that. Some kids get raped, some kids get beat, you never know. Some families are fucked up, but you gotta live through it, and it's not, you gotta find more stable places. When someone comes and asks for help, you gotta get right on it, right? You gotta give them somewheres that they feel safe.
Are there enough safe places or not enough?
All depends on who it is.
It
all depends, people look at me. I wear my pants low, I wear baggy clothes, I got piercings. People look at me like I roll up in a store, I got eyes on me, constant. They all think I'm gonna rob them or beat them up.
Right.
Old people look at me and they're scared. Young people look at me, they're scared. People are too judgmental. They don't give people my age a chance. They don't look at it the way we look at life. I care more about my friends and family than money. Money is nothing. Look at people that have money. They're like, oh yeah, gotta go buy this, gotta go buy this, gotta go do that. Everyone's more worried about money than anything else. I say fuck money. You don't need money. Money is not happiness. You know what I mean? I live day by day. You never know, man. I could die tonight. I could die tomorrow. I play it day by day. I don't plan ahead because plans get fucked.
Hi, my name's Tom Bonavie. I'm 48 years old. I've been living in the Valley area here for almost 3 years. And off and on during that period, I have been homeless. And this is one of the spots that I called home. Our brains are damaged. We've been focused on using and just surviving, trying to find a new place to sleep at night because our mental illness or our drug addiction doesn't allow us into the shelter. So our brains aren't working right. And that's why it's hard to keep an addict in detox, in a long-term rehab, because our brains just aren't set in that motion for healing. We're just concentrating on the moment and getting what we need for that day. So when somebody's saying, like a doctor or a practitioner nurse or somebody at an Eagle Exchange is trying to say, well, okay, well, you need to get into the detox. You need to start doing your meetings. Maybe you need a long-term rehab. Our brains just aren't soaking that in.
It suggests that we need to think about how we support people.
Exactly.
What would be some of your main suggestions? Because providing a space is one thing, but providing support is another. They kind of go hand in hand, don't they?
Well, they do, because you need to feel safe. You need to feel comfortable, and you need to feel good. Your body needs to feel good. Nutritionally wise, you need some good meals. And once you start, building some foundation there like that, achieving these things, then the brain starts working a little bit differently. Then you're willing to accept an hour conversation with a post-acute withdrawal counselor, or one of the nurses at the detox, or some of the staff. A lot of the time, if your brain's not working right, how can you accept these, these suggestions? Because you're too concentrated on, other things.
Mm.
So here in the valley versus big city, we don't have a whole lot of nooks and crannies. Get out of the rain, and sometimes we have to put ourselves at risk for trespassing. But I think staying out of the rain, staying dry, was worth a few risks for me. And this is another spot that I seeked out to keep dry on a cold October night. So this was my room for a night or two. We're in downtown Kemptville. You just seen a couple leftover toiletries from one of my roommates that I never ever met before. After I was gone, apparently he used it. In this corner, some leftover clothing that he picked up out of the drop-in. Disregarded. This was his bathroom break before he left in the morning.
Yeah. You probably know a lot of the stories. You even have a story of your own.
Yes.
And so there's this perception in Kings County that, we don't have that kind of problem.
Yeah.
But you said earlier, what is it, 600 people coming through?
600 visits to our drop-in on a monthly basis. That statistics was last year, and I do believe we're up this year from visits just to our drop-in center. Now there's a core of people of about 140 people that use it on a regular basis. We track that too. 70 over the last 3 years, there's been 75 people individually using our shelter program from November 1st to April 30th. So that can range from a week stay to, I think last year the longest we had is a 14-week stay with one individual, trying to find him a permanent residence. So our turnaround rate has been successful in the sense that we have a better team that jump in and connect some dots for people and find out what we need to do to get them into affordable housing.
Right. What's the story like with the housing stock situation or the rental stock situation?
Well, 5 years ago I took on this part for Open Arms to get to know all the landlords in the county of Kings. So I had a book of about 38 different landlords that I could contact. That is down to about 8 landlords that now rent to social services people or disability people. And that may vary from mental health to just handicapped people, but they're down to 8 now in this region or county. There's only 8 that will rent to low-income people. So it's getting smaller and smaller, and we have to come up with some solutions for that, especially in the downtown core. Downtown core, it's pretty hard to find affordable housing.
I'm Augusta Sneer. Here, if I lived here for about a year, and if it wasn't for Nancy Aspie getting me to rent to the place, I would be homeless. I wouldn't have no place to go, and if it wasn't for her, I'd be out on the streets. So I am happy for her helping me out, and I appreciate her and think the world of her. She's a very nice landlord. I looked around. It was outside. It was an old house. The steps are quite old. They broke once, and it had to be repairs. We couldn't get them fixed because I didn't have the money. Then it fell apart. We put the odds and ends together for now. Then it was an old house outside. It needs work outdoors. I come in the apartment, and there was a hole here, hole there. I need new floor cloth. Work in the bathroom, in the toilet, in the bathtub, because everything is so old. It's an old house, and need help and support. But the only thing, I don't have the money myself to do the repairs and this and that, and I'd like to get help for this place, to have it rebuilt anew, because it's just an old house and it's all run down. I have been on disability since December of 1988, on Canada Pension Plan. Social services helped me to extent, but other than that, I do everything on my own, and I have a low income, been on low income for most of my life. It leaks here quite a bit, as well, and different things. The landlord did do a lot of painting, but there's more work that has to be done, because there's leaks in the ceiling, in the bedroom. We had floods here in the apartment 2 or 3 different times within this year, and I get after the other ones because it's a four apartment building, and when there's water coming from one apartment and it leaks down through to the other ones, and then I get all the mess, all of my floor, my flood, and everything like this, and I don't like it. So where I don't have the money for the repairs, then I just have to do what my landlord and things have to do. And hoping there can be some support in this to build this place up for me.
I remember when I didn't have any choices.
How I remained at Hillary?
Well, I was living with my mother, and this morning I got up to get my breakfast, get ready to catch the bus for Horton High School. I used to have to travel on the bus from West Brooklyn to Gasbro, from Gasbro to Horton High up to the Flower Cart. And my mom didn't want to watch for the bus. She was busy doing her housework. She wanted to get her housework done, and I said, fine. I said, when I leave this morning, I'm going to do something about it. So I went into the flower cart, and Sue said good morning to me, and I was so upset. She thought I was mad at her, but I wasn't. I was upset with my mom because she didn't want me to go to work. She wanted me to stay home. And I just told Marlene at the bakery that I needed help. She helped me call my social worker, and Jimmy Oaten was working at the flower cart at the time, and he set up a meeting with my social worker, and we met with him, and he said he'd see what he could do, and then he went out to talk to my mom. That night I got home from work, she says, darn you. Well, I said, Mom, I'm not going to be always staying with you. I want to get out on my own. Sue one day wanted me to come home with her to see the apartment, and I did so. I was going to stay. She wanted me to stay all night and go back in with her the next morning, but Mom wanted me to go home, so I had to go home. And she said she wasn't going to pack anything up for me. So when me and my other social worker went out, she had a big box all packed for me up in the attic. My mom didn't think it worked. She says, I only gave you 2 weeks and you'll be coming back home.
You proved me wrong.
Not bad for a 50-year-old woman.
Thanks for me when we have the services and to be a man.
Yeah, it's great living here.